for cut 3, let's go ahead and get started with stack site prep. And they are at this point digging for the light poles. We saw one of those holes pretty well developed there. As with everything, you do it by hand. Everything done by hand, and it's no fun if you do it any different. So here's Neely's yellow pot, working on their hole there. Pickaxes, getting after it the right way. And I came out here, and I was out here maybe 9, I think, maybe 10 o'clock. And already the holes were this deep. I mean, I knew that they were going to be out there working on the holes. But man, they were getting it done in a hurry. This dirt digs well. And so, of course, they're paying attention to that, how well that dirt digs. And so on the list of things that Bonfire is going to be looking for help with here over the next few weeks, especially before center pole gets in, they're going to want to do some box blade work out there on where the pad is, around where center pole is going to be, the actual site. It's solid. It's good. We have definitely been on softer off campus, but it's nice to kind of go above and beyond and do everything you can to smooth it out, pack it down. So they're going to be looking for that. Anybody who's got a box blade and tractor time you want to give, Bonfire could certainly use it. One of their laundry list of things. They give the crews, they assign them there to their different corners. This is, of course, going to be different than perimeter pole. The light poles are going behind the perimeter poles, but unlike perimeter pole, digging for light poles is not an honor with a carrot on the end of the stick, because when this is done, you get your flag on it. Now this is just a job that needs doing. And you see when they get down in there using their pots to bottom out the holes. One of the green pots working there. Now, we also had an honored guest out there, Chris Oswalt, who is I think an exemplary representative of the sort of engagement and participation and volunteerism that makes Bonfire work. Chris has got a private drone surveying business, and he volunteers his time and talent to come out. And he made a point to come out and get some drone footage of the new stack site. And it's actually within drone distance of the stack site for the previous 10 years. So he was able to actually fly from the new stack site to the old stack site and back, and got some really great footage. So yeah, his stuff from this weekend is going to be is going to be the real gold from the weekend. Everybody at all of their different corners had music going, something to pass the time while they're working. Except for at Neely's corner. Neely didn't have music going. And I was getting ready. I'm here at Stack Site on my way to a concert with my brother. And I was really excited for this concert. Like I mentioned before we started, I've been looking forward to this concert for 3 years, 2 years, something like that. It was a Rammstein concert. And so I went up to him and I said, "Hey, listen, y'all don't have music." I said, "Do y'all want music?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, you can have music on the condition." I had the speaker in my car. I said, "On the condition, you got to listen to the music, to my music." And they were, "Oh, come on, old man. Damn it. All right, fine." And I queued up the Rammstein playlist just because I was so excited to go to that show, and they had to listen to German metal. And actually, when I went to go get the speaker, they were like, "Oh man, dang it." So apparently they liked it. It was nice. So here again, everything by hand. Carrying in the light poles. Some of y'all may remember, or may have been part last year of contributing to the gallery with your contributions going towards buying new lights. We bought new lights for Stack Site. I have those lights at my house for safekeeping at my property here, homestead, away from Stack Site, and rigging up some some fixtures to make it easy to install those lights this year and just get them thrown on top of those cross members. But yeah, it was your contributions to the gallery that squared them away with some new lights. And I'm actually looking at purchasing some more. So they've got good coverage, a lot of coverage. I'd like to see about getting them some spotlights. Excuse me. Getting them some spotlights up into first tier. For those first few days of Stack, it's a little dim up there. Still sufficient, but it would be nice if it was a little bit more light. So we're going to shoot for that. But, your generous contributions to the gallery last year, we just directed that contribution to the gallery towards buying more lights. And it did certainly help me in taking the photos. And I cannot explain to you how much time that it saved me in developing photos, and it certainly helped me take good ones. But it helped the students a whole lot. That's the most important thing. I can get by taking photos with the lights we had. It was a luxury for me, but it really improved their working conditions, made their life better. So thank you for your contributions there. And like I say, if we can get them more light up in the first tier, that's going to be particularly important this year because, breaking news, they have got a ton of first tier logs this year. It's going to be a big first tier, and they're going to be working on it for a while. That's my initial impression, at least. So now we're going to get to watch them raise one of these poles. See, everybody's in on it. Junior red pots, senior red pots, green pots. You have the commands, very similar to calling a log into stack. All the Y sticks are doing their work. And this is me here still getting accustomed to, I had that 28-300 lens. We talked about that in one of the earlier ones, which has been my bread and butter for years. It's just a spectacular lens that can go wide and get pretty tight. But I'm really loving this prime 8200, and I'm trying to get used to it and learn it more and get comfortable with it. And one of the things that happens when you're used to being able to zoom out real wide and then get real tight is that you put yourself in a position that you can't get wide enough and you end up cutting stuff off. But that's me learning and backing up as fast as I can. Now it was not a comfortable day out there. Very hot, wide open. It's no secret anymore at this point. I'm a load guy. I that's my crew. That I love that. I was also, also a stack guy. I was head stack, and so I'm familiar with both of these open spaces. And until stack starts, being out in this open field before stack, I don't know, it feels like there's something to load that just makes the punishment of not having any shade and being out in the wide open more fun or something. But the wide open of stack before stack starts just is a grind. You can see there's not any shade anywhere. There's no relief from the sun out there. And especially over recent years, I guess it was the COVID year, 2020, that they first started doing this really early in the season stack site prep. I'm gonna do my best to remember that for a while. It wasn't always this way that you were preparing stack site this early in the season, but they did it in 2020 when they had the self-imposed COVID protocols of that were very strict about quarantine and isolating and sending entire crews home for one participant's positive COVID test. They were really proactive in a way that had the potential to really hamstring their work. And so they had started stack site prep early in case their own COVID protocols put them in a position where they might fall behind on stack site work. So great forethought there, but it actually became a thing that they've continued to practice. This early season stack site prep. So, the advantage is you get out ahead of it. And the huge advantage for this year, that fortunately they've got 2 years of practice of doing this stack site prep early and how to balance that against continuing to do work in the woods at the same time. Thank goodness they had 2 years of practice before this year where they've got to move the stack site and do 13 years worth of work in 13 weeks. This early prep is essential at this point. And again, more down in a hole. Warning, little overexposure, a little bright. I'm going to fix that a little bit here while we're looking at it. There we go. Bring it down just a little bit. That's junior head stack. Taking a read on level on the pole. Y sticks locked in. After the seniors got them up, they handed the Y sticks off to the others to hold embrace. And again, like literally everything else, even the tamping is by hand, or in this case, more precisely by foot. Shovels full of dirt are popped in, a little water dropped on top. Sort of back to where we started there with the Neely yellow. Here you can see they've worked their way to the top of one of the holes already. And the seniors get in on the action. Doing a tamp dance. This is trenching. They're doing the trenching here on the wire, bringing it up to stack site. Trying to get a read here, a bit of an illustration on how far they're going to have to run that wire from here all the way up to here. So it's going to be a good ways. Part of the wish list, in fact, for them as they're preparing stack site. One of the things that they had to leave behind or are going to need more of is wire. This is going to be a longer run than what they had before, and that wire's been down in the ground and trying to get it back up. A lot of it got cut. It's just what happens. So they're having to replace a lot of wire. A lot of infrastructure stuff that a lot of people, it's easy to take for granted and not realize just how much more there is on top of what is already a lot of work in building bonfire. Also getting the infrastructure laid. And, not only is this work where you're using man hours on digging a trench when you had taken the time 2 years ago to put down a trench that you would keep for a long time. Well, now you left. Well, now you got to put a trench back down. You got to put more wire back down. That's a lot of extra work on top of what is already a lot of work. And on top of that, that's a lot of extra money. So they're going to need help with that. That list should be coming out here shortly. That complete list, off the top of my head, I think they could use 24. I think they said 24 hours of tractor and box blade time. If anybody's got the inclination to come do that and bring some equipment out and blade some dirt. More trenching work, wire. They're going to need 500-600 feet of wire. Yeah, a lot of stuff. There's a whole list, like I say, they're going to be coming out with, but I was looking at that list earlier and it was, again, a really good reminder of how much the students have to put in to doing this job on top of building bonfire. Some junction boxes, temporary junction boxes in the ground that they can run the wire to, and then from there split it off to the different poles, conduit. Yeah, It's a lot. Tools to make some of this stuff go a little bit faster, not having the luxury of doing a little bit at a time, year after year. Here's Chris. I mentioned Chris with his amazing drone technology and experience. Chris Oswalt doing some drone work, and he sent me some of the preliminary photos and footage, and man, it is so cool. And I will not be the one to share that first. Either Chris or Bonfire will share it first, because it's really, really cool. And I would love to show it to you, because it's amazing. There's some, what do you call that? 360. He's got some 360 views. You can actually see the new stack site from the air over the old stack site. So that was really neat. I got to stand there and look at his monitor, and he's got an optical zoom and a digital zoom on the deal. So double the zoom, and he was able to, hovering over the old stack site. I got to watch people live moving and working, and it was so cool. So cool, from half mile, 3/4 mile away or something like that. Really, really neat stuff. So I'm looking forward to everybody being able to see that. This is the end of cut 3 before I took off to go hang out with my brother, who Chris also knows. I think he mentioned that to me before, but my brother's with Texas Search and Rescue, and he's a busy dude this time of year. I'm pretty busy, and so we had a weekend planned, and so I had to take off. There's not much that I'm going to miss a weekend of watching and helping tell the bonfire story. Not much I'm going to miss it for, but I will miss it for that rare time where me and my brother can get together. And so that's what I did. No actual cut activities in the woods for cut 3, but we will go to the woods for cut 4. This is now the next week. And here's some of the Walton guys heading to load site early. Everybody else is out in the lot. Just that morning revelry. And, some of the Walton guys are going to get truck sticks started and kind of get load site buttoned up and ready to start taking in logs. This is that time where the Browns aren't constantly in fear of having to run around and put their chainsaws to work. So this is the best time that a brown pot's going to have to sharpen their motor axes. There was some debate, a lively debate in the woods about the utility of the brush axe. I'm a big fan of the brush axe when the brush axe is sharp. There was some debate as to whether or not the brush axe was a useful tool. I was an advocate for the brush axe. Then I used this brush axe and experienced firsthand just how not sharp this particular brush axe was. So it was hard to win that argument, but I'm a big fan of the brush axe. With an axe or a hatchet, you're going to get like one teeny little yopon at a time. But with a good sharp brush axe, cutting right here on the edge, if you've got stuff you want to clear and you got trees you want to get to, I highly recommend the brush axe personally. You know, digress here. Let me see if I can find it. 2011, I believe it was. I believe that was the first year that I saw a brush axe going into the woods. That there is Eric Min as a junior red pot, getting everybody taught up on one of the on-site cut classes. But this was, 2011 was the first complete year where I was out taking photos. The 2010, I'd just been doing it for, just trying to get used to a camera that I was trying to learn how to use in time to take pictures of my kids. And, didn't have a whole lot of intentions with that camera in 2010. And then people just like seeing the photos, and I found that they were effective tools in helping people understand what bonfire was like. So 2011, that was the first complete year taking photos. And so, I talked to the boys and said, well, let's be purposeful about this, and let's do this right. And the deal at the time was that I would show them all of the photos. Before I published any of them. And then they could tell me which ones they were okay with and which ones they weren't. And I'm trying to find that photo. Oh, well, doesn't look like I can find it. That's a shame. But there was this one photo. It was so funny. It was it was a brush axe heading into the woods. I hadn't seen somebody bring a brush axe into the woods, and it had FHK painted on it. And so I took a photo of that because it was cool. It's morning light, FHK painted on the brush axe. And I sent the photos to the Reds, to the juniors, and said, hey, what do y'all think of these? And the seniors actually, yeah, okay, all those photos are fine. You can publish them. But the juniors came back and said, hey, don't publish that one with the brush axe. Of all of the photos that entire year, the brush axe was the one that they said they didn't want published. They said it looks scary. And some people will think it is scary. So that was funny. Anyway, oh well, can't find it. It's in there somewhere. Silly. So yeah, every time I see a brush axe now, I think back to 2011 and just how scandalous that was to have a brush axe. Here comes the crews walking in, a brown pot well ahead of them. I don't know what I'm going to do when we move on from these woods. It's going to be hard to beat the entrance that you get with the way the parking in these woods in the path into the woods sets up. Where there's a fork here. Folks can go this way or this way. Now, this is something that always impressive to me on any core trip weekends. This is Sunday, the day after the Arkansas game. This is members of the band, Fighting Texas Aggie Band, who left for the football game at 4 a.m., I believe he said, 4:30 a.m. on Saturday. They left for the football game. And the band, who's been drilling all week to win halftime, as they always do, they leave 4:30 a.m. Saturday so they can get there in time for a parade. And they do the parade, and they do the game in the halftime, and then you gotta there's some of the last people to leave after the game. And they didn't get back in until 3 a.m. on Sunday. And yet here they are for a cut. And not only that, but this Aggie here, he plays the bass. And playing the bass is hard on the shoulders. And so not only are they pulling a hero's turn on getting to the game in Dallas and doing all the pregame and then during the game and post-game stuff and catching a red eye back to College Station, back to Aggieland, they're still coming out to Bonfire. And on top of that, they're coming out after having the bass for a parade, a halftime, a full game, some bruised, uncomfortable shoulders, and they're about to start helping with load. So, man, it always amazes me and impresses the hell out of me to see the band coming on the Jerry World game, the day after the Jerry World game every year. Looking forward to getting that game back in the home stadiums where it belongs, though. So we're in Leggett Woods here. Passing through Neely, I believe. Yep, Neely. And OC down swinging on a tree. I think this tree was already down. And so they were just working on clearing that up, opening up paths and whatnot. Making quick work of their first tree. I mean, this is only probably 30 minutes into the day, and they're already about to bring one down. This guy here had a shtick. See, he's got his own. There it is. He's got his own little ritual there. When he's making chips, he wants hot sauce. So that's his bag there. And then he took a shot of it too before he started, which I don't know. I wouldn't have done. I know he wished there was milk in these water bottles. I know that. A couple of the seniors jumped in on it. They were giving Matt here a hard time. As you can see from the pot, this is your senior truck pot. And so, of course, they're having a field day bagging on the senior truck pot, trying to swing an axe. And there. There. Oh, I like that one. That's that tree they were just working on there going. Hopped over to FHK. They're doing some lopper work. Getting the path clear to the next tree. I believe here went to Schumacher. This is one of last year's senior red pots hanging out with Schumacher. Schumacher talking a lot of trash. Really appreciated Schumacher's well-chosen, well-lit wedge here. Thanks, Schumacher, for putting your wedge right where the light is. That's great. I didn't put them up to it. They just did me that solid. In the background there's Neely moving a log. Takes logs of all size. And here we got another Schumacher felling it. And here I was hoping I got this well enough. There's the tree going. There he is looking at it. Oh, close. I just missed it. That's him on his way up with this. Oh, yep. Just missed the good one of him pumping his axe in the air. But there's been different approaches to trees when they're falling. When we were doing it, you were supposed to keep swinging. You were supposed to keep swinging on the tree as it fell. In fact, you would swing harder on the tree as it was falling. And the thinking is that if you continue to swing on the wedge, you decrease the likelihood that the tree will get stuck on the stump. So if it's not broken all the way through, by the time it finishes falling, it'll slow down the fall a little bit, and then it'll keep the tree from breaking through and falling to the ground. So we always had a policy of just keep swinging on it and swing harder as the tree is falling, and don't back off, and we'll tell you when to stop. And then for many years, it became, as soon as the tree starts to fall, back off, and then we'll just deal with the consequences of more trees being stuck on the stumps. And it's kind of balanced out now. I think now it's kind of a halfway point between the way we had done it and the way it was done for a little while, where they will swing on it while it's falling, but at about halfway they'll back off rather than swinging through all the way until the tree falls. There's a Neely Chief in their yellow, sizing things up. The legged chair pointing to where she would like work to happen on the wedge. And then sure enough, this would be the outside. When somebody is giving you advice on where to cut, if you're on this side, there's the inside, there's the outside. So working the outside and getting that balance right is the key, is it critical part of getting the tree to go where you need it to go. And there she got her kill. And of course, Leggett's ceremonial pixie stick after a kill. Blue pixie stick, throw up the L's. My daughter's cut with Leggett. And so they know the L's. They've gotten to throw the L's. They've done the pixie stick routine. Haven't been out yet this year. I think we gotta get that going here pretty soon. My son is asking me if he can go this weekend. All of my daughters went when they were 6. That was their first time going out to the woods. He's now 5, so we're trying to decide if he's ready. I mean, Lord knows he does have his own axe. He does want to do it. It's nice for me because I never pushed it. And you find that in a lot of legacy bonfire folks whose families had built bonfire. And it's cool that it happens like this, where, you know, that you hear the stories of your folks building bonfire. Maybe you hear those stories. Maybe they'll tell you. I know some outstanding bonfire guys who didn't really, you know, they would talk about it with other folks, but they didn't, you know, tell their kids all the stories because they didn't want their kids to feel like it was the direction they had to go. If you find it, you find it, kind of thing. Of course, a lot of folks do tell the stories. But we all try not to, you know, this is something you have to do, or you come out and do this thing or whatever. Because it just feels better when your kid chooses it of their own accord. And I never put my kids up to it. In fact, I was never going to. And then my wife said, hey, my oldest daughter was 6. She said, hey, you know, she wants to know where you are on the weekends and she wants to go see it. And so it was actually my wife's idea. And they've all followed suit, and they've all to this point have gone with Leggett, and they've got good friends there. I like it, and I appreciate Leggett for that, for being so good for them and giving them the chance to work. Certainly don't baby them. They make them work. It's nice. Back over at IIII. I'm trying to get focused on that handle. There it is. Unfortunately, I can't, you know, count on anybody to sit still when it's convenient for me. This one didn't turn out to, that might work. If you know that III's a thing, you know what this is. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that one. So starting on the back wedge here. Yeah, this was the back wedge of a... Yeah, because, this is one they let me swing on. I got to swing on the front wedge. I think I was the last one to swing on the front wedge on this, and then so this is them going to the back wedge. So yeah, I still got it. I didn't actually swing it all last year. I had a what do you call it? What do you call those things? Had a surgery before the year last year. and I couldn't swing at all last year. So this year I've gotten to swing on 3 trees, I think now, making up for lost time. I'll tell you this though, man, good grief. I'm reminded every time, I can't believe I used to do this. I am not in any condition to be swinging on a tree even once. It's crazy to doing this all the time. It's a nice reminder of how hard it is. This was a good example. Schumacher, who for so long would just set the highest wedges, and it was so crazy to me because they were all, generally speaking, not as vertically inclined as other crews on average, it felt like. And yet their wedges were so high. It was uncanny. And this year, Schumacher's been going low. And here's this brown pot demonstrating how you can swing on a low wedge and do a great job at it. And it's my firm belief that it's easier to swing on a low wedge, because to swing on a low wedge, you got to do this. You spread, right? Distribute your weight there. You get low. You bring the axe up as high as you can and then let it fall and bring that momentum to the tree. When I was in decent shape, I could swing like that all day. So much better than standing upright and trying to swing on a tree. This was one of the juniors giving him what for? Again, another hot day in the woods. They started cut at least 1 week early this year. So, in the same vein as stack site is hard to prep when you prep early because it's hot. When you start early, you have more hot weekends. So it's not necessarily that it's been hotter in recent years. They've just been starting earlier in recent years. So you get at least 1 extra week of summertime cut, which sucks. You see the stripe there. You keep the stripe on, the virgin stripe. You keep that on. Again, things have changed over time, and I think they're going back to, an older way. But you would put your virgin stripe on to indicate that you were a fish, or at least a bonfire fish. Maybe it was your first year building bonfire. You would put that stripe on, and you would keep it on for the entire time that you were a fish at bonfire, so that everybody would know the entire time that this was your first year out there. Well, at some point, the stripes started to become something more like, different crews would apply their own timing on when you would take the stripe off. So in some cases, some crews would take your stripe off the first time you killed a tree, which kind of defeats the biggest part of the purpose behind the stripes. But I think they're going back towards keeping the stripe on for the entire duration of your freshman year, which is good. There's a lot of times where somebody's going to be looking for somebody who can answer a question, and they're going to be looking for an answer as quickly as possible. And so it helps to be able to identify the people who probably already have the same question and a million different other questions because it's their first time out. This was last year's yellow pot from FHK. There's one of these in here that I felt pretty good about. I remember hoping I'd feel pretty good about. And yeah, at this point, headed back to, you see there in the distance, over the field and the skids in the woods, there's load going on back there. I went and set up a GoPro. I did a time lapse on loading a truck. Sort of this is the first time I brought a GoPro out. And again, it's thank you to the supporters of the gallery on Patreon, patreon.com/DeonCGallery. It was your support that got a GoPro that I brought here. I try to turn all that support back into doing cool stuff. And so the GoPro's a new thing, and I wanted to time lapse. There's a few things I want to time lapse to try and capture all the work. And the easiest thing to start with is to time lapse loading a truck. Because I just put it on the truck and let it run. So I do have a time lapse video of loading this truck. And I hung out there for the duration of loading that truck. To monitor. Did learn some things. The video turned out okay, but it did overheat. So got to do a little bit more work on that. And I'm glad to learn that here on a truck rather than some other stuff that I'm looking forward to trying in the woods. My big pie in the sky goal that I'd really like to be able to pull off, and it's going to take practice and stuff. I might not be able to do it this year or even next year. I want to do the entire life cycle of a bonfire tree. So, affix a GoPro to a tree pointing down and get time lapse of cutting the tree, and then, the tree falling, and then turn the camera around and time lapse digging and topping the tree, and then time lapse swamping it to the skid and dragging it to load site, and, put the camera in some peril and time lapse or shoot throwing it onto a truck like this and hope it doesn't break the camera, and then have it point down the road and follow the trip to stack site and leave it, on the log as it's swamped from the truck to the skids at stack site. And then ultimately when it's time to stack, put the camera back on and shoot the journey to stack and slamming it into stack. That's the big goal. But that's going to take a lot of work. And like those wacky marble games that people set up, and Lord knows how many times they did it before it finally worked from start to finish. That's sort of what I'm expecting is going to happen with the GoPro. When, as I said, this experiment that I'm running the camera right now, I'm here trying to stay close to it. The camera's like just off to the side here, shooting down the truck. This experiment here turned out okay, but at the very end did not work out when it overheated. So I still have the footage. I'm going to publish that soon. And you'll see you'll see getting the truck loaded all the way up to the just before the high ports. Oh, this happened. I forgot about this. Little tornado. Little dust devil. So I forgot about this. They went to chase it down, jumped up in it. I totally forgot about this. Yeah. This thing didn't mess around. It was breezy. That's fun. I'm glad I got that. I'm glad I was there for that. And then everybody went to chase it down and chase it away. Get out. Get off my load site. No, it's fun. It is getting towards that. You know, we had that drought moving all the way to extreme drought. And then we had the reprieve of a good bit of rain. The work in the woods, load everywhere was nice and, damp at least, or not dusty. But here in the last couple weeks, it's dried out real good, and it's back to what it was last year. Very, very dusty. I was trying to get a good angle, and this might be it, though I do hear that, whatever. It's not like they haven't seen the license plates before. But I was trying to get both the trucks, because I'm going to make a post about the trucks. I'm trying to get a halfway decent capture of both of the trucks in the same shot, and also get them being in the context of Bonfire. And so I'm just trying to get creative about getting them both. And the reason why I want to get both is, like I said, I'm going to make a post. We'll put it on the Twitter or whatever about Bonfire has two trucks. Reba and Dolly. Reba, Dolly. Reba, of course, is the redhead. This one's Dolly. But I'm trying to get them both in the same shot when they're at least a trailer away from each other. And then I figured I'd try this. And that's one way to do it. And then while I was playing around, and also while it was super hot outside and I could get an excuse, I climbed in the cab, played around with the mirrors while I had some shade. I like how those turned out. That's fun. I like playing around. Especially like being in the shade. So one of those is going to work. But that's it. So yeah, stay tuned over the next couple days. I'm going to get that time lapse of a truck being loaded, an entire truck being loaded, from basers all the way up until high ports. Like I said, we overheated, but it's a good first experiment. So thank you to everybody, all the supporters of the gallery on Patreon for helping make this new fun little advancement possible. I'm looking forward to experimenting with this some more. Look out for that. Look out for the to-do list for Bonfire, which we covered some of already. They need tractor and dirt work. They need wire and conduit and trenching, and keep on the lookout for that. And follow Student Bonfire on Twitter and Facebook at Student Bonfire, Instagram at Student Bonfire, and then follow the gallery at Dion C Gallery on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you'd like, support the gallery on Patreon at patreon.com/Dion C Gallery. And thank you for all your support for Bonfire, for this little exercise I'd like to try and be helpful with. But most especially for Bonfire. They're going through another outstanding season. And it's through support like yours that they're able to do it. And especially in seasons like this, moving stack site and all of the challenges that are going to need to be met there. And then going into the future, getting Bonfire a stack site that they can use as home forever and ever. We're working hard on that, making that possible. So, everybody's motivation makes that even a potential, and that's huge. So thank you to everybody. Stay tuned, stay motivated, build the hell out of Bonfire Aggies. Gig 'em.